Jason, I think it's an incredible book. It's different than any book on the Great Reset I've ever read. It makes perfect sense. It's just like light and death, light and dark, life and death. It just separates them and helps you understand from a biblical Christian worldview perspective, how do we confront the Great Reset? And you had 5 core moral principles. These aren't banking principles. No. These aren't legal principles. These aren't government principles. These aren't money principles, what we deal with a lot here. What are the 5 core moral principles?
Well, the foundational one is, I call personalism, but it's really the proper understanding of the human person that Christians communicated to the world over the past 2,000 years. And that is that we all have a beautiful dignity, an inviolable dignity and worth. That is the foundation of everything humane in what we call the West or Western civilization. What we're really trying to conserve is the understanding of the human person in those institutions and those structures in civil society that were erected by Christians to honor and respect that proper understanding of the human person. C.S. Lewis said that if we could see ourselves as we really are, if we could see other human beings as they really are, they would be more terrifying and beautiful than angels. That as we walked down the street, we would drop to our knees in awe and couldn't walk down the street. But God must have put a veil before our eyes. You could get on one of Elon Musk's rockets and go in any direction for all of eternity, and you would never meet anything as wonderful as your neighbor who leaves his trash can out 4 days after pickup. And you're like, that jerk. But that jerk is like the most beautiful thing and the created thing in the cosmos. It's unbelievable. So we need to have a renewed reverence for the human person.
So that is personalism.
Personalism.
Okay.
Transcendent moral order. That is that there is a law above the laws of man. There is a law even above the World Health Organization. Yeah. There is a law above the Twitter and Facebook.
And by the way, you were just on with Frank Gaffney and Reggie Littlejohn and so forth. We just had Frank on our show. But that you call natural law.
Now, it's natural law, the transcendent moral order. And that's obviously Christians trying to understand there's divine law and divine revelation. But there's a law that we can assess through unaided reason. Even Ayn Rand, the great atheist Russian philosopher that wrote Atlas Shrugged, said that human dignity is self-evident. It's axiomatic. Our founding fathers said we hold these truths to be self-evident. It is only self-evident. It is self-evident. But what really reinforces this is that we live in a society informed by the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, natural law. And as a result, there's got to be something above the government, above human law. Socialism can't have that. Marxism can't have it. They just say
Great Reset cannot have that. Cannot have that.
But these are just things that we know intuitively in our heart, or should know, and see in the Bible says in the natural order.
Antigone, she knew it when she was ordered by her king not to bury her brother. She said, "There is a law above the gods of kings. There's a law above kings." Antigone said, "There's a law above the law of Zeus."
Ah.
Antigone said this. Yeah, there is.
So the third one is?
In the book, it's Humane Economies, number 3. Now, humane economy is what this show is all about. It's about what your whole apostolate, your whole mission is about. It's about the humane economy is an economy ordered around a proper understanding of the human person that's not driven by force, by violence, by fraud, but by a respect for a human being as a creature with dignity.
Or greed. We say money's a weapon, or it's a tool. It is not an end in itself.
Yeah, no, the biggest burden as someone who runs a nonprofit is I get to see with my major donors the burden of wealth, to deploy it and steward it properly. It's a burden because we're not libertarians. No offense, there's some libertarians watching.
Yeah.
But most libertarians are actually conservatives because they recognize freedom is to serve the common good.
But there is a moral authority. I mean, we don't believe... Who wants to go and say, hey, you can get 95% of the world strung out on drugs, but you'll become very wealthy?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that.
Or, we can have cheap phones in our pocket, but Uyghur slaves are assembling them in CCP China. Yeah. So, no, we want a humane economy that maximizes freedom while ordered to the common good, not just for ourselves, but for our posterity.
Yeah, and the purpose of money is not to get money. The purpose of money is to do good things, because nobody takes that into the afterlife. You can't take money with you. No. It's all left behind. Yes. So humane economy, then subsidiarity.
Subsidiarity is key. A distant, unelected bureaucracy should have nothing to do with your day-to-day life, should have nothing to tell you.
So can we call the European Union now and
Yeah,
tell them
World Health Organization.
You're not right?
Yeah, no, they're not right. Well, of course not. Subsidiarity has to be obliterated by tyrants. You saw it in Soviet Russia. You saw it in Nazi Germany. What happens is they have to obliterate those free institutions in civil society between the person and between the state. And they've gotten very cunning. They've eviscerated all the intermediary institutions with power. Now they want to divide us from each other. You're L, you're G, you're B, you're T, you're Q, you're plus, you're I. No, it's divide, divide, divide. Leave you increasingly alienated. It's like C.S. Lewis's vision of hell in The Great Divorce, where we all have our little fire. We get further and further and further and further from each other. And C.S. Lewis says, the main character says, well, I get to meet Napoleon. No, he's too far away. And soon all of us will be so far away. And soon all of our fires will go out. It'll be us alone in darkness. That is the Great Reset's vision.
Stella Morabito wrote The Weaponization of Loneliness on that same concept.
Yes.
The whole COVID thing was to isolate, divide, separate. And that's how you make people crazy.
Hence, let's move on. Yeah, and that's why solidarity is key. Solidarity to me is...
Number 5, solidarity.
Solidarity to me is the key, because what is solidarity? It is, if victim is a feigning concern for the vulnerable for wealth and power, solidarity is loving the vulnerable to becoming as vulnerable as they are, right? Christ said, the world hated me first, and then they will hate you. Isaiah 53, the suffering servant, is also about us as Christians. When Damien of Molokai left Europe, went all the way around the world in the 19th century on a sailboat to what? Serve lepers in Hawaii, get leprosy, and die. True solidarity comes with pain and suffering. You do prison ministry, you do retirement home ministry, you work with married couples, you work with single moms at a pregnancy center. All of this comes with heartache and heartbreak and sadness. You have a relative that's lied to you time and time again because of drug addiction or a gambling addiction, but you love them, you stay with them. That's solidarity.
Being human, you're describing the way to break the Great Reset is to be human.
Yeah.
And
transhumanism was one of the, they don't want us to be human. The ideologies of evil we didn't get to was anti-humanism, abortion, embryo destruction, assisted suicide. Now in Canada, you can go get an assisted suicide for depression.
That's sad. All right. How do people follow the work? And I've described you when I brought you and I said, you're about to meet the true most interesting person in the world. How do we follow your work, Jason?
Well, I have a podcast, The Jason Jones Show. Please, please, please. I poured my heart into this book. I think you'll see that. I really want young people to read this. I'm so happy that Turning Point USA and Students for Life of America are giving them to their students. Get the book wherever you buy your books, and thevulnerablepeopleproject.com. If you want to stand in solidarity with the most vulnerable people in the world, when the world is, no other group in the world dares go, that's where we look to serve. And when you stand with us, you stand with them. The Vulnerable People Project.
All right, we're going to summarize all this in our free economic battle plan. You can get it at economicwarroom.com. Remember, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies view as a battle space. This is Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room.